All right, so today we're going to be going through 5 different adjustments and just the setups. So the first one we're going to be doing here is an occiput adjustment. So first, to assess the occiput, I'm going to put my index finger on the mastoid on the right side, and my middle finger is going to be on the C1TP on the right side. I'm going to rotate the patient's head, blocking that C1TP and pushing on the mastoid, feeling for rotation. And then I can do that on the opposite side here as well. Again, feeling for any rotation. On his right hand side, I felt a little bit of blockage for right rotated on this side, and then he has a left rotation restriction. So I'm going to get my patient supine for me on the table. For this adjustment, I'm going to have my contact hand slip down onto the mastoid process on this right hand side here. So I can just come down on top of there with my indifferent hand, kind of just cradling the patient's head. And then I'm going to laterally flex over that side, slightly rotate, and then my vector would be P to A to stay on the contact with a counterclockwise rotation. The next adjustment we have here is a TMJ LAD. So for this, the patient already reported that he has been having some clicking and popping on his right hand side. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to glove up because I'm going to be inside of his mouth. And first, to kind of assess and just make sure we know what's going on here, I'm going to have my patient slowly open up his mouth and then slowly close as well. Again, I can feel that popping and clicking on his right hand side a little bit. So what I'm going to be doing for this is just a general LAD. So I'll get my patient to open up his mouth. With both my thumbs, I'm going to place them on the back side of his molars here. And what I'm going to be doing is just bringing his jaw kind of down and then to that right hand side, and doing that about 2 to 3 times to kind of get a nice long axis distraction of the jaw there. Then I can again reassess, see how that feels for the patient. If he needs more, we could always provide an adjustment into there, but right now that's all we need to do. Next adjustment we have going on here, I will get my patient to sit up for me again, and we're going to be doing a wall thoracic adjustment for an extension restriction. So to assess for an extension restriction, I'm going to have my patient cross his arms in front of his head, in front of his body. I'm just going to be behind the patient, holding their arms and bringing a fist contact up into extension. And right about there at T6, I can feel an extension restriction. So I'll get my patient to come over to the wall over here. You can put his back flat against the wall and walk his feet out a little bit so his lower back is flat against the wall as well. I'll get him to cross his arms for me. You can switch your arms for me, please. And then what I can do is, with a flat hand contact along the wall, I'm going to tip the patient forward, find that T6 segment, place my contact on there, and just put him against the wall. Next, I'm going to grab his bottom arm here, and I'm going to kind of pre-stress up with my body against him, put him onto the wall, and then my vector would be A to P and I to S. Next adjustment we have here is a glenohumeral adjustment. So with my patient seated, to assess for any P to A restriction, or A to P restriction, sorry, of the glenohumeral joint, I'm going to be reaching across and contacting the olecranon here with his shoulder pretty much in the middle of my sternum. And then with a little bit of I to S and A to P, I can stress to feel for any restriction in motion there. I'll also get him to do the same thing on this side. Perfect. And just like this, feeling for any restriction. And that side does feel a little bit restricted. So if I was going to adjust this side, what I would do, again, having the patient in the exact same position with his shoulder in my sternum, I'm going to provide a thrust I to S and A to P to help provide some motion into that joint. And then the next adjustment we have is a prone fibular head. So I'll get my patient prone here, face down on the table. To assess the fibular head, what I'm going to do is, starting on this left-hand side here, I'm going to find that fibular head, and I'm just going to be shearing it posterior and anterior, feeling for any restrictions there, and then I can dorsiflex and plantar flex the foot as well, feeling for any of that motion. That side feels fine to me. Again, feeling for the fibular head on this right-hand side here, kind of stressing anterior and posterior. That doesn't move as well as I want it to, so I think this is the side that we're going to be going after here today. Perfect. So what I'm going to be doing for this adjustment then, because it doesn't want to move anteriorly, I'm going to be placing my outside hand right on top of that fibular head and flexing his leg up, putting his foot on my shoulder, and then I'm going to be coming across and reinforcing with my inside hand. I'm going to be distracting his leg up a little bit, and then my vector is just going to be straight P to A with my piezoform contact on that side.